Or should we not?
Yes.
I think the shot looks good.
All right.
The shot looks good.
Yeah, looks great.
Kicking off. Ready? Okay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to City Hall. Thank you for being here, for driving the Vote for Equality tour, where it makes its final stop after its tour across the country and back, like the suffragists did for the vote. I want to thank the outstanding council member, Virginia Marshall Maloney, and other council members, Gail Phillips, Rita Joseph, Harvey Epstein, the Speaker's Office, ERA Now, ERA Coalition, the National Organization of Women, Women Creating Change, the Bella Absent Leadership Agency, the New Majority, Mommy's Heart Foundation, Women's Justice Now, all the important Eleanor's List, all the important advocates and organizers and leaders are joining us today. We're working for all women for equality under the law. For generations, women in this country have organized, marched, protested, and fought to make America closer to its founding promise of equality. More than 100 years ago, suffragists proudly little yellow Saxon car 10,000 miles. Can you imagine? Back to here to New York like we are today to carry the spirit forward and the fight for equal rights. When I left Congress, I founded ERA Now to raise money and fund important projects such as this one, to raise awareness, build coalitions, to finally get through to Congress a sense of Congress, a resolution stating that the Equal Rights Amendment was the 28th Amendment to the Constitution. That was our purpose, that was our goal. Now it is my great honor to welcome our first speaker, a fierce advocate for women's rights, public servant fighting every day for people, a rising leader carrying this movement into the next generation, and my beloved daughter, Virginia Maloney. I could not be more proud. Please join me in welcoming and thanking Virginia Maloney and her staff for putting this together.
Thank you. What an amazing role model in Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney. I couldn't be luckier to have her as a mom. For more than a century, women organized, marched, and drove across this country, demanding to be treated as equal citizens under the law. And today, standing beside us is the historic 1916 Golden Flyer, and reminds us that progress in America has never come easily. It requires courage and persistence. The same is true of getting a permit to bring the Golden Flyer into City Hall, but I commend my staff for helping us make that possible. 110 years ago, suffragists Alice Burke and Nell Richardson drove more than 10,000 miles across the United States to demand voting rights for women. Congress was stalled, and many believed that change was impossible. And today we mirror that fight. Driving the Vote for Equality now returns to New York City after retracing the steps with the same spirit of activism. The tour launched right here on March 1st, the same month that the New York City Council passed our resolution calling on Congress to recognize the ERA as ratified. I see our chair of the Women's Committee, Amanda Farias here, council member. Since then, this car right over here traveled through 23 states to remind the country that the fight for equality under the law is far from over. Women won the right to vote in 1920, but the fight for full equality under the law remains unfinished. Only an Equal Rights Amendment will ensure that women's rights to health care, to financial security, to safety, and to equal legal protection are not temporary, but permanent constitutional guarantees. This fight has spanned generations. Many of you know that the ERA was first authored by my ancestor, Alice Paul. That was in 1923. Here we are, still championing it, thanks to the work of another great New Yorker, former Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney. to. It was fun to say, oh, she's in a 1912 car driving state to state. So as we prepare to celebrate our country's 250th anniversary, what message do we send to future generations if women's rights remain vulnerable to political winds? So I want to thank ERA Now. I want to thank my mother, Carolyn Maloney. I want to thank the New York City Council's Women Caucus and all of the advocates gathered here today. We have an amazing group of women, all of the New York's leaders on these steps. So we owe it to them. We owe it to everyone who comes after us to finish the work they began. So join us in supporting the ERA. I want to first recognize some council member colleagues, starting with Councilmember Amanda Farias.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councilmember Amanda Farias. I get the honor and privilege of representing District 18 in the Bronx and chairing the Committee on Women and Gender Equity. I'm honored to be able to join this phenomenal group of women, not only to celebrate the arrival of the Golden Flyer 2, but more importantly, to underscore the critical need to continue this tireless fight for equal rights. I want to thank Councilmember Maloney, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, ERA Now, the Women's Caucus, advocates, organizers, and everyone gathered here today as we welcome the Golden Flyer 2 to New York City. This is something incredibly meaningful about standing beside a symbol of determination of women who traveled across this country more than a century ago, demanding rights, recognition, and a voice in shaping the future of this nation. Those women organized during a time when they were denied political power and excluded from having a voice about the very systems governing their lives. And yet they prevailed in helping move this country closer to its ideals of equality and democracy. As chair of the Committee on Women and Gender Equity, I've had the conversations with women across New York City and internationally that reinforce how many of the same fights for equity and protection still persist today. Whether we're talking about economic opportunity, workplace protections, reproductive rights, healthcare access, representation, or even personal safety, women are still fighting for the rights that should have never even been negotiable. That's why the push for the Equal Rights Amendment remains as urgent as ever. The ERA helps affirm a long overdue principle that gender equality should not be open to interpretation or vulnerable to someone's political preferences, but guaranteed through constitutional recognition and protection. And while we stand here honoring the extraordinary legacy of the suffragists and the progress their advocacy made possible, we must also recognize our responsibility to continue building on that very foundation and advance the legislation that achieves equal rights under the law of the Constitution. The women who came before us carried this movement forward through organizing, persistence, and collective action. Our role now is to continue carrying that torch with fervent conviction, as we see our Councilmember Maloney doing every single action we're doing in front of City Hall, not just for ourselves, but for the generations coming after us who should not still be fighting for their damn rights in 2026. Thank you so much for having me. And I'll pass it back over to Councilmember Maloney.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Farias. Next up, we have our Women's Caucus co-chair, Councilmember Rita Joseph. Thank you for being here.
Quiet! Woo! Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Councilmember Maloney and all of the colleagues here in government. Thank you. I'm Councilmember Rita Joseph, the co-chair of the Women's Caucus. Take a look to the right over here. That bright yellow roadster in Golden Flyer 2, it carries one of the boldest stories in American history. So in 1916, two women, Alice and Nell Richardson, climbed into the Saxton Roadster, just like this one, drove more than 10,000 miles across the city. No GPS, barely any roads. They got lost in the desert, picked up a straight hitting in Alabama, and they kept on going. Town square by town square, with one simple message. Women deserve a voice in this democracy. Right? Right. At the time, they could not even cast a ballot. 4 years later, the 19th Amendment was ratified. Ordinary women, extraordinary courage. a country that finally listened. And now look around this building today. I have the honor of serving alongside 32 women in the New York City Council. Clap it up, y'all. A majority of this body, and most in our city's history, the women who drive that car could not vote. Today's women help lead the city. That is why we persistent, that's what persistent look like. And it is exactly why we cannot stop now. Because for all of the progress, women are still not guaranteed equality in the Constitution of the United States. And that's not right. Not right. The Equal Rights Amendment have been ratified by 38 states, every requirement the Constitution demands, and it's still blocked, held hostage by arbitrary deadlines set decades ago. Equality should not have an expiration date. Right, correct, ladies? That's right. So the Golden Flyer 2 is back on the road, 25 states, coast to coast, to finish what Alice and Nell started. And today it rolls into New York City because it's where the movement began. New York City stands with the fight. I stand with this fight, and we're calling on Congress to do one simple thing: recognize the Equal Rights Amendment as the 28th Amendment. 100 years ago, 2 women refused to wait. Neither will we. Thank you.
Councilmember,
Oh, yes.
sign the ERA petition. Next up, my neighbor in the council to the north, Councilmember Elsie Encarnacion.
Hello, everyone.
Like-minded men are here.
Yes. Let's give it up for the men who get it.
The men who get it.
Thank you so much for joining us. They allow us to do the things that we do by staying quiet. All right. You know what was really moving for me, Carolyn, is when I heard you on New York One, and you said, "I never imagined that my daughter would have to fight for the rights that I hold, and that she would have less rights than I had." And that is what we're fighting here today, to make sure that we leave a legacy and that we don't have to go back to there. We're in 2026, and it is really impactful when we come together. There should be thousands of women out here, because our rights cannot be up at the bargaining table. Where are we laughing at? I'm sorry. Okay. So, you know, I do my part here, and my part was paid by people before me. I want to recognize former Council Speaker Melissa Martinez here. Having that type of legacy, having that type of example in front of you is what carries me on to continue to do the work that I do. I want to be the example for the next person, and we need to get this done, not today, not tomorrow, but yesterday. And so I thank everyone here standing in the hot sun, making sure that we send a message to Congress. We will not stand for this. The 28th Amendment needs to be rock solid, and we should never have to stand here again. Thank you so much. And for those of you who are able, please come into my committee meeting. We're starting at 2 o'clock. It's just as important. Thank you so much. And I'm going to sign the petition right now. Let me get my check. And I'm pushing my colleague.
As my colleague said, there should be thousands of women out here and thousands of men as well. So next up, my neighbor to the west and south, Councilmember Harvey Epstein.
Well, thanks for letting me be here. You know, when I was a little kid, my mom first, she ran for office. She advocated for the ERA, joined the League of Women Voters. Inspired me to do this work, and inspired me to be a person who cared about our community. And it's really sad, decades later, that we still haven't moved this issue forward. Women still get paid 79 cents to the dollar. Things have not gotten better. Abortion rights or reproductive freedom have gotten worse. We live in a country where we talk about progression, and we see a country that's going backward. In this moment, where we see the federal government having an attack on women's lives every single day, we need to stand strong and say this is not what we believe in. This is not what New York's about, and we did that in New York State. when we passed the Equal Rights Amendment. We did it when we passed it in constitutional amendment here. We did it because we care about women and women's rights. We need to see something happening on the national level. I'm really proud to stand here with my former Congress member, my colleagues in the council, to the north and to the east and to the west, Brooklyn and the Bronx, to say, ERA now, we need it more than ever. We need to fight for equality and liberation today, and that's what this is all about. Thank you.
Next, we are going to hear from someone who chronicled this history that we are standing on today. Gerald Shriver is the author of Driving the Vote for Women, An American Journey for Suffrage. It's a remarkable account of women who fought for the right to vote and the long road towards full equality. Please welcome Gerald, everyone.
Lean in on the mic.
They were prepared for the arguments. They would speak press is there, we're going to get our name out there. So those ladies can do 110 years of all that stuff in that car. We can too. So thank you very much.
Our next speaker carries forward one of the most iconic legacies in the women's movement. Liz Abzug is the founder of the Bella Abzug Leadership Institute. There goes that. Where she empowers young women to lead, organize, and shape the future. Please join me in welcoming Liz Abzug.
I have with me here one of our students. Mr. Maloney and I taught a great course at Hunter this year called ERA and Social Media. Yes, Carolyn was in the trenches, started with Bella Abzug, my great former mom. Jimmy Maloney, who are you? The progeny of, I know your position, I stood in it many years. All the other council people are here, former speaker Melissa Marcus, Vivarito. The future is not just young women and not just young older women. It's young men, boys, older men across this country that have to fight and complete a fight that started 100 years ago. Constitutional equality, equal equality for women in the Constitution is insane that 100 years later, we still do not have this. When I tell my students this at Columbia, my college students, you tell the college girls at Barnard, you're still not in the United States Constitution. They say, what are you talking about, right? So there is a sense of urgency. We really are trying to do a mass media campaign, bringing it, ratchet it up. Carolyn has really carried this fight for all these years in the Congress and is still taking the lead. And is still fighting for these petitions, 165,000, 66 now. 66 across the country, 500,000. But you young folks, I'm seeing you here, you young women and a few men, you really have to help us push this campaign seriously. 50 years ago, you didn't have a credit card. You were single in your own name 50 years ago. And Bella Abzug changed that to a piece of legislation where if you're single or you're divorced, you can get a credit card or a mortgage on your name. You know, everything is a fight. Change requires constant vigilance. You all know that. So I wanted to say, you know that from the bonds, other veterans here, this whole movement, Sardo. I just would like to take one more second and let one of our young parent warriors stuck with me and Carolyn Snesker say something about ERA and about the social media aspect real quick.
Hello everyone, my name is Elbert Ivory. I'm one of the students at Hunter College at the Roosevelt House. We hear a lot today about what we have to continue fighting, what we're fighting for. And how do we fight is really the question. And the way we fight is by educating everyone. Educating our sisters, our brothers, our mentors, our teachers, our neighbors. And even those who oppose us, we have to embrace them. That's the only way we can win this fight. We can't just fight fire with fire. We have to learn to embrace the opposition. Because that's how we truly are going to win and succeed. Thank you.
Next, we are going to hear from a trailblazer who broke barriers in this very building. Melissa Mark Vivarito served as the first Latina speaker of the New York City Council and still continues to be a powerful advocate for women's rights and working families.
Councilwoman, thank you so much. I'll just say a few brief words. I grew up in Puerto Rico, and I grew up in the 1970s in the feminist movement in Puerto Rico. My mother was an activist in that feminist movement. When we were growing up, she used to have in her bathroom on the mirror of the vanity a little pin that said ERA now. And growing up, didn't fully understand adults, as we all know. The fact that I have less rights than those that my mother, as you said, Carolyn, had when she was fighting, and the achievements that she helped bring to the island in Puerto Rico, but also within the feminist movement, is really pathetic. It is frustrating. It is anger-inducing each and every day. How we are being stripped of our rights, our agency, not only when it comes to our reproductive health, but in all aspects of our life. And so, to me, this is very personal, as it should be for everyone, not just women. It should be embraced and fought for by everyone. So I join and I thank that the council passed the resolution. The work has been done at the individual state levels. This has to be authorized, it has to be ratified, it has to be part of the Constitution, and we have to fully embrace the rights that we each have in this country. So thank you so much for all your work.
Next, we have another co-chair from the Women's Caucus, Councilmember Gail Brewer.
Thanks very much to the Maloney family. And also, what's ironic to me is that I was head of the National Women's Political Caucus, along with some of the other folks here, in the 1970s and 80s. And we had the same conversation. And that is so frustrating. In fact, I sometimes, when we're in Holy Square or we're in another park, I'm thinking, shit, I was here in 1980 on the same topic. Whether it's Planned Parenthood, whether it is ERA, whether it is fighting for the rights of families and children, same discussion. Because of Mr. Trump. So I think this is, in many cases, a bipartisan issue. There are Republican women who also here understand that they have no rights. It is not just Democratic women. So I want to again thank Carol Maloney. Everybody else paid very little attention, but she has been talking about this for many, many years. So this went through the whole state process. And then when we were told, oh, sorry, it's too late, you have to struggle. That's crazy. Nobody else will have to go through this except the women. And so I'm here to say, like everybody else, I hope that we can overcome the naysayers and make it very, very clear that this is something that should be in the Constitution, so that people, young people, don't have to be standing in Holy Square in the next 20, 30 years doing exactly the same thing. Thank you very much.
And we're lucky to be joined by the Deputy Manhattan Borough President, Maisha Smith. Please come up to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My name is Misha. I'm the Deputy Borough President for Manhattan. I just want to say I'm so inspired being here. I've worked with so many of the people you see behind here who've worked on, as many of them said, on this issue for decades. But I think the thing to concentrate on here is that the fight is something that we hand down from generation to generation to generation. Whether it's ERA that consistently needs our voices, or if it's any other fight. So many of us turn on the news and we're constantly seeing these images and new news about things that we're going to have to fight for. Don't let them discourage you. The fight is what we do. It's in our blood. It's been passed down from mother to daughter, as you see her today, and it will continue to be passed down. We're not afraid of a fight. We're not afraid of work. We're not afraid to be out here in these streets, letting people know what we need, what we demand, and letting them know we're not going to stop being loud about it. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to the Hunter students who are here, the entire Hunter team, and thank you so much to the leaders who continue to inspire all of us to continue our fight. So thank you again. Thank you.
All right, next we're going to hear from former Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, who is coming hot off the trails with the Golden Flyer.
Thank you. I'm so honored to stand with all of you today here at City Hall. Throughout my congressional service, I was the lead sponsor for the Equal Rights Amendment, and it still remains a priority, my priority. So when I left, I founded a not-for-profit called ERA Now to raise awareness and activate supporters around the need to pass the ERA resolution and put it firmly in the Constitution. Towards that goal, I am currently the president of New York State Now. The Now Foundation has given generously to contribute to this tour, and the Republican lobby for the ERA, for the vote for the ERA. And it's never been more important because of what everybody's talking about, the rollback of women's rights. I tell you, I was shocked when they said they would roll back Roe v. Wade. Well, they did. So now they're talking about taking away the vote. There should be one vote per family. It sounds ridiculous. I'm shocked at it. But pay attention, because they did roll back Roe v. Wade. And I am still horrified that my two daughters have fewer rights at my age when I was their age than they have now. And the only way to stop it is to enact and enforce the rights amendment, get it to put them in the Constitution where they so rightfully belong. That is the only way to protect them. Our rights should not depend on who is in the office of the Supreme Court or presidency or anywhere else. Rights are never simply handed down, and it does not come easily. The fight for equal rights amendment comes from the same tradition, collective action, and shared courage. Because equality delayed is equality denied. No one should be paid less because of their gender. No one should face discrimination and be told the Constitution is somehow unclear on their rights. And no democracy can claim to value freedom while half the population still has to fight to have equality explicitly recognized. Our strategy is to move forward with Congress affirming and recognizing the ERA as the 28th Amendment. And there are 3 initiatives which we are working on along with the ERA Coalition, the National Organization of Women, AAUW, League of Women Voters. First, it is the sign for the ERA. Come on over here. That was a student effort. That was put there by the students. We had a lot of students, but I think we'll leave now. And anyway, they put it together. They met with constitutional scholars. They helped write it. And we now have over 116,000 signatures in every state, every congressional district. And they track that. We keep this computerize it and going with the help of the students. I don't know if stay right here. Now, the Driving the Vote for Equality, which began on March 1, Women's History Month. They've already toured 25 states over 10,000 miles. And our final stop is here today. And our third initiative is getting officials, elected officials on board, working with men, sign our petition. That's how we communicate with you. So today I stand with all of you in solidarity and gratitude. Let's finish the job. Let's make equality permanent. And let's keep marching together for equality. Outstanding leader in so many areas, and that is my good friend Carol Jenkins. And Carol Jenkins, she has so many titles. She's done so much. I don't want to read all of them, but let me tell you, just remember, she's important. She gets things done, and she is the chairman of the board, former chairman of the board of the ERA Coalition. Carol, where are we? Come on up with Jessica Newell, the founder of ERA.
Right. And we have been following you. We are so thrilled to be here today. We wouldn't miss it. We were all taking photographs in the Roadster. What a perfect night. So Jessica, what was the one of events to be? She spent a decade, 10 years fighting for the ERA. And we had Congresswoman and Councilwoman
Testified before Congress.
That's right, when you held a hearing there. I'm so glad that we now have the next generation of Maloney, working with the ERA too.
Carolyn wants to and I thought that was so nice. Here we are, closer than ever.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Before we close, I want to recognize so many outstanding leaders that joined us today. If we let everybody speak, we'd end up with a sunburn and we'd be here all day. So thank you to Julianne Michelle and Mommy's Heart Foundation. Thank you to Women Creating Change, candidate Vanessa Aronson for the Democratic Assembly seat on the East Side, and the new majority for being here. And Carolyn, do you want to close or have anyone else speak?
Well, I tell you, we had on our list for the executive director was Justice Nelson Rosario. Okay, why don't you just the chairman of the board for Berkeley State for now. And if this
Thank you, Virginia. Thank you, Carolyn. What a glorious afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for coming out today, and thanks to everybody who's working on Sign for ERA and Drive for ERA. This fantastic team has brought the golden flag to across the country and here in New York City. So let's give it all one big Thanks to everyone who came out today. I know that each one of us could choose to be someplace else, but we chose to be here. Each of you have your own reasons for this choice that I want to give you. When I was a little girl, every school morning, I took the Pledge of Allegiance to my country. A country that stood for liberty and justice for all. I bet a lot of you here took that pledge too. Well, it's now time for our country to fulfill that pledge. The Equal Rights Amendment is foundational. It simply recognizes women as full citizens, full human beings. How is this controversial? That little girl who took that pledge to her country doesn't understand. She doesn't understand how a convicted felon can be allowed to persecute the women who survived his crimes, or how the media continues to ignore deeply qualified women who run for office. She doesn't understand. But the women standing before you here today, the woman standing here, joined the National Organization for Women and is fighting for equal rights and humanity for all women. We're fighting for equal rights to be permanently enshrined in the Constitution. So I urge you today, keep up the pressure. Tell your elected officials and every candidate on every ballot that they must actively support recognition of the Equal Rights Amendment. To that end, let me mention that now New York City is, at this moment, about to have a press conference in City Hall Park in support of E.G. Carroll. I leave you with this. Every one of you are more than the obstacles in your way. You are the force that overcomes them.
Thank you. The new majority, are they here? Yes, we are. And Danielle supported. One time we lost a lot of women, and they were not married to many women on the city council. She came together with a lot of women and elected a majority. Amen. And you best watch out.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Danielle Secor, and I'm from the New Majority. I'm proud to stand here with the many advocates, along with Congressmember Maloney and our NYC particularly. At the New Majority, this work is central to our mission, and we're proud to have helped elect the first female majority city council in New York City history. And we believe that the next generation deserves full equality. But representation alone is not enough if equality is not clear, permanent, and protected under the law. And we keep showing up and speaking out until equality fully is recognized.